Kurt, who is working at Digital Logistics Center of Excellence and also has a 12-year-long experience in transport education. And her favorite transport mode is short sea shipping, very difficult to pronounce. So the floor is yours, Ulrika.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it has been a long journey, and not just the 12 years in logistics, but also nearly 7 years alongside with Leah and growing teams of colleagues in pushing what earlier didn't have a name of FT, but later 2020 turned into FT, and now we expect a bit more of a similar time frame to have it fully applicable. So that is my time frame here. And what I'm going to tell you a bit is how exactly are we looking at the time perspectives of FT coming into life, and how within the project the partners, mainly the member states, but also the ones influenced, are looking at their roadmaps, how to build FT for themselves, and of course between themselves and between the member states that are around them. And in more detail, around the timeline of FT, which is coming at a certain, somewhat adding few months or few years here and there. We have a bit of slower pace than we earlier were expecting, but it has given us a lot of time to frame and maybe even have better solutions. The project itself has taken a very deep dive into these member states that are in the project. There are 9, but on how they exactly prepare for the year 2026, 7, maybe even beyond, to be completely ready for FT. And how to bring all of these different stakeholders around to actually do their part, so that not only member states or administrations, as you would know for FT, are mandatory to transfer, but also that there will be users, and that there will be the IT solutions and FT platforms and ECMR platforms and other consignment node platforms and other varied other digital transport platforms that are ready and take note and get their interoperability. So we have a work line, a task in the eFTI4EU project for the roadmaps, national roadmaps. And we started with the first round in 2023. The second round we now have collected in 2024. And we have made now by September a good comparative as well between those individual roadmaps, made similarity reviews, as well as published a joint report on them. And we are currently in the process of reviewing the version that we could as well, we hope it goes for the best, also to publish for public reading of these statements. So if there's anything that still some member states would like to promise for sure, we can still withdraw, monitor a bit. But it is also a deliverable that this project will be making available for everyone to read, to see how the member states are thinking, how the ones who are actually nearby, and I have colleagues here, not just myself, who we're working around it, and we are hoping that this will also provide clarity as well as encouragement to those member states that are not in the project to create similar roadmaps for themselves. And to show what the roadmaps entail, it is a a review of strategies, visions, and goals, and a lot of as well the current state assessment, which of course sometimes not having anything ready is not a limitation. If you just have a vision of creating something, you'd need to know how to do it and whether others will have it the same. And nevertheless, every member state has some specialties that they're advanced in and the others are struggling with. So hence, this joint coordinated exercise has allowed to discover that actually others have the building blocks or knowledge quite well available in places that perhaps the individual specific member state is thinking of options or hasn't worked that deeply yet. It looks at legislation and in different competent authorities that are in place for FT, as well as provide space of the ones who are should be benefiting or like second layer users of potential FT data, and also timeline and dependencies what the member states have. Some have started with quite a lot of initiative, have pulled some tenders or works quite close of pilots or even procuring an FT gate, and some are still discussing how to do that the best. And it is not a worst or best case scenario. It is just how things are, and we just do that referencing against each other so that we know that everyone is working on it. Resources as well are mapped, and risks and how these are to be overcome, because it is also very important to have an understanding of how every member state is thinking. And most importantly, what the roadmaps that we have set up the templates with, and have this coordination of this exercise, is that we would like to have all the member states now in the eFTI4EU project, but also on the all the member states that have joined the sister project, eFTI4All, and all the member states who are around but aren't part of these projects, to think of how all these other digital strategies, as well as other transport digitalization strategies, have an interlinkage, even if they're not currently in work plans, that anyhow there will be a general bigger picture for businesses in their operations deriving from these digital actions and legislation. And we would much like all the member states to take an understanding that transport is not somewhere alone in a reporting or push format, but it is an integrated supply chain data flow that the transport is just part of, and all the mandatory pieces of any reporting should just be seamless from the daily operations between the businesses and between their IT systems, and to have that mindset already from scratch, also for the authorities that work with FT only, so that they would take note of reflecting to other authority segments or other ministries, depending on their setup of their national e-governance. And highly important and very, very interesting has been the mapping of national digital and data building blocks that are available. Some have very advanced levels and this has been really eye-opening for everyone else of how actually the intra-national work is governed and operated. And we have installed a bit of methodology behind it as well, not to push it too much, doesn't really show that much, but it is a grown pestle analysis that has been specifically adjusted and extended, that we're using across this exercise, as well as benefit mapping exercise that the roadmap's covered and the specific extra assignment will cover, that you would like to do anything, but you would need to know what the status is, and you would like to as well know where you'd like to go, but it all has to be motivated. So even if you have barriers, you have limitations, you have options as is or to be wishes, you would need to categorize them in an understandable sequence, organize them, and then one by one start tackling them. And to regular those who would know of regular conditional analysis, which PESTEL is, we have added also the finances and the marketing and the brand and awareness segments, so that we would be able to organize also the knowledge around FT, because if we are all aware of what that is and what the benefits are, we would be able to cross-motivate each other, because no one has the full picture, and not knowing or being afraid is the biggest hindrance of all the developments. And that's the piece. So I'll not cover all of these layers. You will most certainly learn about them, but we'd cover a bit of legal aspects, because there are still legislations coming up, and the legislation that is not there, we consider that not a hindrance to apply FT. We would ask that if a legislation is not there, for example, for eIDAS or for some technical solutions that we might need to have in place, legislatively or mandatory or non-mandatory conditions, we'd say if we would need it, is there a potential or a need to negotiate of having it? So we'd ask ourselves, what if? And have that position as well written down in a roadmap, saying that we observe whether these options legally also become available. Current gap is not a limitation. It's a challenge, but not definitely an eternal limitation. Also, legal aspects to highlight a few are that we are with FT seemingly in a reporting state, but we're not just in reporting. We are in global, common EU internal market that we want to make better functioning with FT. And not too many people see that connection in an immediate first sight, but it is that with FT we make it possible to report or show whatever you need to report seamlessly and run your cross-EU business with less complexity in a standardized way. And this is actually an enabler that FT has in it that maybe not everyone is recognizing, because at first FT seems a bit complex to comprehend, but it is quite a powerful tool when we figure it out, how it works in supply chains for the actual business operations of cargo exchange, not just transport, but exchange between industries in a good way. The second key segment is economic aspects. These goes alongside with nice to have, but it doesn't pay off. We're not going to do that. With FT, it is going to be mandatory, but the extent of application and the extent of onboarding is dependent on an understanding from businesses that it actually brings them benefits. The member states as well have to motivate their investments for the government, for the budget, for any extra work that is being done. So hence we need to know an understanding of how much do we win when we make this change, or how much do we save. And the government needs to know if going on with the investment of building an FT gate or dedicating a team who would make it work better, not just minimum, but extended, how much their economy, how much their industry sectors will win or save. And this is also what we learned from the roadmap exercise, that we actually have quite a lot of input for moving to next stage in supporting such an analysis in a wider scale. And also together with the European Commission exercises at different levels, we try to combine the data so that we will have the national understanding of national budgetary and why not GDP wins out of this digitalization, also supply chain wins, the sectoral wins, as well as individual business operation wins of specific use cases. So all these levels also from this exercise to many others build into a clearer understanding for everyone that what is their win if they have a need for investing for, I don't know, monthly fee or installing a system or building one, what might be the volumes in some years' time. And the third key segment, of course, is technology, out of which we have been having a great presentation by Teemu and Mohammed, as well as all the team. And if you wish, you can fetch up all the different presentations that have been given over eFTI and the technical aspects. Is that how do we make it possible that technologically is not available? This is a roadmap of discovery of technical integrations and architectures that have not been there. And we have taken the challenge of saying that we do have the components, and if we don't have the setting, we will just figure it out. It's not a limitation that we don't have it. It's and hence this project that we are in have provided the excellent baseline for people's dedication, for having time, space, and having a timeline to figure things out, not delay, but do it, have reference implementation, have the testing, and have later on the code pieces available. And if needed, we'll adjust them when we need to in coming years. It is just a motivation, and in the roadmaps we have as well these ambitions for all the member states written down. And in leaving more of the keywords for you is that the technology has to be effective, reliable, as well as we need the technology neutrality. So we will provide options that allow all the different softwares and different integrations, either nationally or supply chains or in different service providers, to have their own specialties, to have their own different applications, and to have the different access modes, identification, authentication models. We need to have a framework how we can compare them, how we can categorize them, but we do not have to impose a single solution, neither for an FTGate, neither for a platform. If we have understood how we want them to be, we have plenty of benchmarking options from other cross-EU networks that function the same. And key gaps that our member states in the project have indicated also lie across all these same categories that I was showing a few minutes before. And in all gaps and all risks, we say, are not hindrances. The more you have, the better it is. The more you can identify, the better it is. The more you can describe why and how you cannot do things, the better it is. Because then you can go line by line and start sorting it out and making it an option, making a plan for it and resolving it. And all these worries that the member states are having and were written down in the roadmaps have already been monitored and understood that how or which of the time frame these can be resolved, and this has brought a lot of relief, I would say. It's not an easy task, of course, to resolve quite many hindrances, but it is doable. As well as one of the key aspects that are worrisome are, of course, the integrations between FT data flows and FT requests and all the other transport, vehicle, driver, movement, or any other operation requirements for reporting. And such uncertainty is currently the biggest worry or biggest knowledge gap, which is identified, and not necessarily all will be resolved within the eFTI4EU project. There are other projects, other initiatives, but we do take note and also deliver the key aspects to be tackled in short term around this project to have also FT smooth application. And one of the big key worries is, of course, money. Money. No one has it ever too much or enough. But we have also understood and figured out that if we have understood how much it costs for one or another member state, we can copy the framework, and we have saved a lot of individual member states' finances for having done the thinking jointly, thanks to the project. And we have been taking a lot of savings for each and every individual member state for building an FT gate, for preparing an FT gate, by preparing the components as well as the guidelines jointly, so that we might have also some application that you can sort of download as a project result as a member state, and not pay the fees to the extent that normally similar systems would have costed. The timeline for the roadmaps, especially for within the project, have to fall within the project period, obviously. And the project that we are currently in, the eFTI4EU, runs until 2026. Maybe we'll see if a few of the months we need to add to the original end date, depending on the timeline of FT implementing acts and other acts coming, delegated acts coming from the legislation, EU legislation. But we have mapped of an understanding that by 2027, that currently is the expected date, we would have FT gates in all EU member states as required, and we do see that it is doable. So these roadmaps as well have provided certainty that this is the target, and this is not going to be missed. And for the few wrap-ups and for heads up, we have made a round of benefits mapping from these roadmap submissions, as well as added quite a lot with our colleagues having collected these benefits from other studies and reviews. And we have categorized them into the same 9 categories. And we have identified 216. And if we go along with other targets, it's like 385 we had. So one benefit or one FT different topic per day in a year, and a few plus. We were even thinking of issuing a calendar, one FT thought per day, one FT benefit per day, and to think about and submit. So that there is quite a lot, and we will continue with motivating and with understanding that it is doable in all these different categories, and made 2 clouds. So we have benefits that are general benefits. Then we have as well the member state benefits. And the highest is transparency, efficiency, footprint, obviously. CO2 footprint, any footprint. Support, mitigating frauds, compatibility, satisfaction, speed, error mitigation, skills, and competitiveness. And for economic operators, the key highest scored ones are standardization, transparency, efficiency, competitiveness, scalability, accessibility, integration, accuracy. And we think that FT, alongside with other digitalization streams, provides a general benefit which we get marketed and get as well described in a qualitative manner. But within the eFTI4EU project and beyond, we also try to provide numbers, numericals, so that it can also be assessed how much you actually do win if you turn the FT button on, if you turn the ECMR button on, if you turn other transport modes option buttons on at first layer. The bigger picture will take step by step. So we try to organize that domain as well. And I do hope that even this roadmap exercise, maybe within the project, but the wider benefit mapping is our common option. So I also do invite you when, if you do allow, we will make that information available, how you can contribute to that mapping. And you can contribute when we will launch the studies and the workshops, and you can easily come join in and participate and have that as well contributed and then later on learn from. Thank you very much. That was my part.
Thank you, Ulrika. We are now almost having a coffee break, but I have one question from the online participant. Do you think that it will be compulsory also for economic operators one day, and if yes, then when?
I'm not a policymaker myself, so I can make any promises or thoughts given out. Yes, to underline, indeed, FT will be mandatory for authorities in the very first stage, and economic operators will have their option to choose. We wish that this uptake would be as high as possible immediately to make it pay off, and that's why we're working that hard. My individual opinion is that when we have the feedback round of how FT implementation has been, 2029, 30, around there it is expected. We'll see if that timeline is exactly like that. I would hope that the assessment would say that should be mandatory for the economic operators as well, or economic operators themselves would say that we would like to have that fully. And depending on how much time the amendments would make, then I'd say in 10 years we could be fully digital, whether we should or we would want to. But 2040 should definitely be the time that they should be available for everyone.
Thank you, Ulrika. First the carrot, then the stick. But now, I don't know if you have carrots, but the coffee we have.
The coffee and the cookies.
Yes, and we will be back in 12:45. So see you there. Thank you.